too.
Yeah, well, dang it.
Okay.
I was like, how can I actually
Poetry is not your forte, but StarCraft is. Let's talk about the game. Starting at top left, we have from Team Slayers MMA, a guy who just got 4-gated, and now will have to kind of scale back the level of risk that he's taking early game. Compared to this opponent in the bottom right, it is Finale from Team MVP, anxious to get a first win in the North American Star League. Finale had a bye in week number 1. Let's see what he can do here, week number 2.
Yes, sir. The first 2 games really haven't shown, I think, too much skill from Finale. I mean, really, Finale kind of put himself into a builder loss. Game number 1, somehow or another. I mean, he was looking really good just in the beginning stages when it was Cloak Banshee against a 1-gate Robo. It's really, really advantageous for him. But after that, he didn't really showcase like his exceptional macro, his exceptional, I would say, multitasking, or decision-making at the later game stages. There wasn't a lot of room for that because it was just one clear-cut decision. That's it. And we're going to see who wins, what comes out of it. And MMA should come out of it 99% of the time with his micro. And same thing for MMA. I mean, basically game 1, it was kind of given to him. Game 2, it was taken from him. Hopefully game 3, Entombed Valley, will showcase something a little longer where we can see these players really go at it on an intellectual level.
Yeah, and as a result, you can see that a lot of mind games go into the best of 3. Just so many mind games in terms of what you're capable of. Now, we're on Entombed Valley where I guess the MMA really wants to be able to utilize things like his drop play and be able to spread out a little bit more and try to see if he can pick apart his opponent. Because in Entombed Valley, yes, it is a little bit easier to defend in terms of the triangular position, but still kind of a ways away. It's a little bit more difficult to try to protect your third and then go straight into the main. There is a little bit of airspace for medevacs to fly through as well. And we'll see how things end up panning out. MMA going for a very standard gas expansion. In the meantime, we do see only a 1 gas from Finale, so inevitably probably going to go to a 1-gate expand unless he wants to go for another 4-gate.
Definitely. Entombed Valley features a very wide open natural over here for that ramp, so it actually makes it a little bit difficult. MMA has the capabilities of doing these 1-base plays again. And I think what he showed gas the first game, gas first the second game. This can actually be some sort of early game pressure that Finale is kind of anticipating. And behind this, of course, we do have that fast expansion, as you were saying. So there can be just damage done to Finale just because of the first and second game. The inefficiency from his, just trying to defend against potential gas first is definitely there, and we're going to see how Finale actually works. Maybe he goes 3-gate before Robo, which doesn't really feature the best long game, but is the safest in this early game stage.
This is one of my favorite builds to do in Terran vs Protoss, not because of like how good it is in the early game, because it's not, but to go 3 command center off of 1 barracks is just, you have so much stuff by the 11 to 12 minute mark. Yeah. Normally when Protoss tries to make, or when they're more defensive and you're able to kind of make plays, it just feels like you're very, very strong. But the big problem with it, Andre, and you always tell me, is the Colossus, early Colossus builds, because you delay your gas so much. I mean,
that's right.
You're not going to be able to get out starports. Usually if you want to go for the 2 starports to counter the Colossus, it's so late that Protoss can hit a very nice timing. But this is if Protoss if they can get the scout off or blindly go for it. And I think in this case, I think MMA is making a pretty good decision. Regardless, though, Finale's on a good path. He did go for the 1-gate Robo, and if he does go for a quick Colossus Squirtle push, it's going to be really tough for MMA to hold.
That's exactly right. Now, there is a slight tell. I do want to say one sec. There's a slight tell with the SCV being lost over here. If MMA is doing a 1-base all-in, you're most likely not going to do some sort of SCV scout. Because what are you actually going to show? If it's a Nexus, well, you're still going to continue on with your attack. If it's not a Nexus, let's say it's going to be a Banshee tech, let's say it's going to be a Hellion tech, you're still going to actually be aggressive and just check around because you need to get as many units out as possible to defend against potential 1-bases. So he should actually read, okay, the SCV being lost probably means my opponent is going for a fast expansion. It's not for sure yet, but it's most probable. And from here, Finale should be like, okay, I can calm down a little bit. I have my observer out. You can see he is just protecting himself against potential pressure. And I think, yes, he does in fact think that it is some sort of one-base play yet again. This is what I'm talking about. This observer should be across the map saying, oh, it's 3 command centers. I can actually exercise my tech really fast this game.
Man, greediness of all greedies. Just MMA is going for a double engineering bay yet again to get early upgrades. We do see the double forge in response. Just to, again, get his early upgrades. Some Protosses choose to go for 1-1 and then try to go for a fast third Nexus, but and then delay his tech that way. I wonder what Finale is going to take this, because you don't see a double forge this early. In fact, a lot of Korean Protosses delay their forges and try to use corner boost to catch up to the Terran upgrades. But what do you think Finale is up to here?
So this double forge, I know it's used by Hwangsun quite a bit, and what it's designed to do, you can see how long it takes. Let's just check, 190 seconds, right? Well, you can actually bring it down to around 130 seconds or 140 seconds around there with Chrono Boost. And by doing that, you essentially defend yourself against a lot of 10-minute, 11-minute pushes. 11-minute pushes are normally in the form of drops, but that's when you actually have that countdown timer. And it times up perfectly, so it's like 1-1, all of a sudden Zealots are a lot more effective. So I think that's where he was going with that. But now he's reading. What is he reading? He's actually preparing for a third base. This is actually really interesting. He doesn't know that the third base of his opponents is up yet. But I like what he's doing right now. He's actually pushing out, making it look like it's a 2-base all-in.
Right.
And hopefully he's going to get this orbital command center to actually lift.
It's not very threatening at all. It's just a few stalkers and a couple sentries. Right. And yeah, the third base does go over Finale. We were talking about, yeah, double forge, expand, and then use 1-1 and stay on gateway to try to stay safe. But this is a really good response because of how greedy MMA has been as well. You can see that his starport, his reactor isn't even done, or sorry, his reactor is done, but he hasn't started production from the starport just yet. So things have been severely delayed. Finale, again, still threatening the attack, but really isn't going to do much here at all. Like, I mean, he's got 1 Zealot.
And there's the cancel. Again, just trying to fake his opponent. He wasn't able to actually get this cancel. Moving up here is really risky because he doesn't know where his opponent is. If he had that observer out there, then it would be a much different story, but very intelligently done by MMA. Taking out that observer and really stopping any potentials like these fakes to obviously fake out the third base. So I like where the position of MMA is, obviously. He has the economic advantage, and he's going to really materialize that. Now he has the medevacs out. He doesn't really have a lot of, I would say, drop potentials, but he definitely has the ability to actually push pretty hard with this mass amount of units. Thankfully, though, for Finale, he has his Colossus out at the perfect time to intercept any particular push.
Yeah, and I do like Finale's position, even though, yes, he plays a little bit far behind. He's been squeezing out an incredible amount of probes to be able to catch up into the worker count. And so MMA is not that far ahead economically, but still has a substantial lead. MMA also has a Ghost Academy just started. Did not start as +2/+2 either. So Finale has been really on top of his upgrades and able to finish that. But for the meantime, this is a good time for MMA to drop because a lot of upgrades are finishing up. Thermal Lance, Charge, as well as getting out just his Colossus count.
If you guys saw, there was a little trick that MMA did right there. He actually scanned to take out any potential observers and then loaded up, and here we go. He's just going to back up from here, and there are already stalkers in position to receive this drop. So very nicely done by Finale, really making sure that he's comprehensive with his defense all over the place. Look at this, Templar Archives going to be popped down. This is really, really important. This is actually to actually catch your opponent off guard. Normally, they just over-make Vikings in this position. You get double starport because you realize your tech's so far behind. But MMA, look at what he did. He's getting Mobius Reactor already, Frodan, and that means he's preparing for Ghosts. So he's the one that's actually anticipating the switch from Protoss, not going to stay on Colossus for that long. And because of that, he's going to be well ahead of his opponent in terms of army composition when it goes High Templars against Ghosts.
Yeah, there's a lot of high level mind games at the mid stage of Protoss vs. Terran. Some Protoss players push it to the max and get only one Colossus.
Yeah.
And without even thermal lands, just to fake out their opponent and then go for a quick storm research. And a lot of Terrans in general have been getting earlier ghosts. Maybe scale back the production of Marauders slightly. As you can see, no Marauders are in production. And go for the quick ghost. And you can keep those 3-4 ghosts until you're really safe, and then maybe even crank out more if you feel like it. But MMA, now that he kind of knows what his opponent's up to, is going straight up into mass ghost production and still pumping out Vikings just in case, being very safe, just like you said. 2 more command centers on the way from MMA as well, already trying to look forward into the heavy mid to late game where you want to go mass orbitals and start trading out workers.
Yeah.
This is really forward thinking from MMA. At the same time, Finale doing this right, starting to add on massive amounts of gateways. Also has +3/+3 on the way, and that window of opportunity of just a minute, no, about 2 minutes ahead of his opponent in terms of upgrade advantage. That's going to be huge as well.
Oh, that's such a valuable timing. I mean, really, that's when you can really exercise out in the map and try to get a little bit of space, because if Terran has this much map control, you really don't have a lot of options. You don't have a lot of attacking options. First, as Protoss, the #1 thing you have to do is try to get map control. What does map control consist of? Taking your bases, making sure everything's defended, taking the center of the map, and then making sure that no drops can actually affect you. Once that's secured, you're the one that gets to attack. You're the one that gets to call the moves. If you don't have that, then what ends up happening is Terran is the one that actually gets the advantageous position on you. The Protoss is being defensive, and a lot of times, yes, defensive is good, but you throw down those money scans, you're the one that's able to actually snipe out all the High Templars, EMP perfectly. It makes it very difficult when Terran's receiving stuff and they have to just look for stuff, and they have to actually have some sort of like hourglass to their name where they have to move really quickly or they're going to get stormed.
Look at that. +3/+3 is going to finish for Finale around the same time +3/+3 starts for MMA. That's a 3.5 minute window for Protoss. And the big thing is the Finale's been given time to get his big army. Yes, he only has 1 Templar, and he's keeping it more defensively. But at the same time, MMA, like this kind of position is really tough to kind of push into because you're forcing yourself into a small choke. We'll see how the engagement goes, if there's even engagement. MMA doesn't have Cloak on his Ghost either, so he has to be very precise. But the Colossus is kind of cornered. There's way too many Vikings. MMA's Ghosts are also caught in position, but he's going to go for a backwards kite at this point and try to pull his Marines backwards. But the 3-3 really chopping into MMA's army. Finale looking very strong with his army.
I think Finale wouldn't have been able to win this fight if it wasn't for that 3-3, but yes, Frodan, the 3-3 being so powerful in this engagement, he even got pretty good EMPs. I wouldn't say the best, but they were pretty decent, and Finale able to chop up just everything. Now, a small group of Marines are able to get into the 3rd base, but again, Zealot's so powerful, 3-3 against 2-2, you can't really do much. And is Finale going to continue this wave of momentum into his opponent's base? No, he's going to back up from here. He does have the gateway count to actually back that up if he so chooses to, but he really lacks the Robotech, the, I would say the High Templar tech out in the field right now, and that's because he's been committed to only 3 bases for a long time. Now that he can situate his 4th base, this is when you really have to worry about Protoss swinging around from tech to tech and keeping up with their composition, because one bad composition mistake and you have 4 more ghosts than you want to when you really want Vikings against that mass Colossus.
Man, this is the Finale that I'm talking about, where it's just very, very intimidating because he's able, I mean, the engagement spot was perfect as well, that he's able to keep the Colossus that far down to the point where the Vikings had to bait themselves in, and was able to really use a lot of positional mind games. MMA's 4th is under huge jeopardy, just going to evacuate immediately, while MMA also has 3 medevacs going on to the southern part, so he's going to go for a huge drop attempt, and there's only 1 cannon and 1 stalker in position. MMA can do some massive damage, but he has no real ability to confront.
Took out 3 High Templars, actually, in the middle of the field. Finale has to be very careful about that, but in the meantime, it looks like MMA's 3rd is going to die over here. The 4th base of Finale is going to die as well. A bank is saved up, though, so he can actually do a couple of rounds of this. MMA backing up all the way into his main base, and this doesn't look good for him. But if Finale attacks poorly, which he is doing,
he's going up a ramp. You don't want to go up the ramp, but he might have too much stuff. Have to kind of kite back. MMA, will you be able to defend? Meanwhile, the 4th base has been sniped. by MMA's task force. Remember, he's fighting 30 supply down as well, on top of the fact that he's already losing a lot of his infrastructures. Archons are pushing in, but they are very low shields. No more ghosts remain for MMA, but the army looking very weak. This one Colossus being a hero, 14 kills and counting. A Viking is pushing it back. MMA also pushing to the third. Finale's reinforcements of Zealots trying to push it back. MMA has defended for now, and supply counts look surprisingly even. A massive warp in for Finale. Might be able to turn the tides of the battle, but he's going straight for the reinforcements. MMA does have +3/+3 started. MMA has held, at least for now, Andre.
Wow, very nicely done by MMA. I can't believe he was able to manage both of these attacks beautifully. And look at this, killing all the Zealots. Yes, the Warpins at home are going to really stabilize him, but when we go back into everything, let's look at it. Income 13 Harvesters to 52, not looking good for MMA. He does have mules to boot, but it's really, really tough for him to actually get back into this. With the amount of tech that his opponent has, I don't know if MMA can actually eke this one out.
It's too tough. He doesn't have a Ghost to really deal with the Archons. He doesn't really even have the Viking count to deal with the Colossus. And just in terms of raw ability to reinforce, the Protoss army is able to really outproduce MMA at this point. He's got mules, but his economy is running very dry. MMA already back to his production line yet again. He made a miracle defense the first time, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it again. Finale picking great engagements. GG. And MVP Finale ends the series with quite a bang, taking it 2-1 over MMA.
Very, very tough loss, I think, for MMA. He felt like he had it in his grasp, but really when it comes down to it, the 3-3 that we were talking about, being so far behind, actually hurt him dramatically for that first push. If you're going to do a 2-2 timing, you do it when 2-2 first hits or around that vicinity, but don't let your opponent get 3-3 and you don't upgrade it at all. Obviously 3-3 against 2-2, just a dramatic difference at that end game stage. And realistically, I feel like MMA, if he did have 3-3 or at least equal upgrades, that's a very clear win. He kills all the Colossus, then it's just bio against gateway units, and it's like, well, I have EMP, no problem. He got his Ghost caught in that fight, and from there, Finale was able to keep the momentum on. He's obviously able to take out the 4th base, take out the 3rd base, push him all the way back to his production, and then really stabilize back at home for the win.
Great series by Finale, and overall, a very nice way to welcome him to NASL Season 4 and just the league in general. That game and series was brought to you by Stamps.com. Go to nasl.tv/p/stamps for special offers so you can save postage and print it straight from your PC. We'll be back after this with Night End versus TT1, a Protoss versus Protoss. We'll see how things square up for these two Protoss players when we return. Don't go anywhere. This is Week 2, Division 5.